What up, K-Rugs, the Sober Dog, coming at you for the end of Solitary Month. I got an awesome person here with me today, one of my good boys. Great interview. We're going to get into it with BL. BL, what's up? How you doing today?
What's up, big dog? I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah. BL and myself were, incarcerated together and became good friends in there. This man over here is the Jeopardy champion. He'll whoop on any of you. Rest in peace, Alex Trebek. But,
Peace.
yep, BL and myself, a little ahead of time context, would literally walk the yard all day. And in a couple videos I did, in the past here, showed you guys a diagram of how it was set up. We're solitary, and then the yard, and then where we lived. So we would walk past the box, solitary, whatever you want to call it, all day, every day. I had never been. BL had been multiple times, and he'd always tell me how it is, all about it, but I was just too cocky, caught up in the moment. But today is about him, and he's going to tell us some of his experiences with solitary prison in general. BL, I know you were young when you first, got arrested, got in trouble. What age were you? And you want to break that kind of beginning down a little bit?
Yeah, I'd initially gotten arrested and charged when I was 17. I spent the first year of what was my, freshman year of college actually on bail, fighting my charge. And after that first year, blue trial was brought into the county. I stayed down there for about a year and 2 months, actually. All sorts of efforts and litigation, immediate appeals and whatnot. And I ended up spending just over half of that time in the box at 18, turned 19 right after. So my county time was definitely majority box time or administrative segregation, which is less boxy, but still nonetheless the majority of your time is spent on lockdown.
Now, was that because you're young at 18 and you kind of got to set a name for yourself in the county? Because it seems like you jumped right in, to box life or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I was really upset, when I initially got my bid, all my time, because everything about it kind of felt unjust. But that was, my way of reacting to everything. It was my way of dealing with my circumstances at the time, because other outlets just didn't really do it for me. They weren't really allowing me to express my frustrations in a manner in which they, were fully out there. So as a 18 and 19-year-old in Suffolk County, Suffering County, really, and it's heavy there. I was banging blood at the time. I still am, but I was didn't really have an understanding of things beyond just, this is what it is. We're out here and you're putting in pain because we have it inside, so we put it out. I ended up from the minor tier within a couple of, I don't say I lasted a whole month and a half on the minor tier before I was moved to administrative segregation, which is like the box, but it's 3 hours of recreational time on the tier, and then the rest you're locked in. So you do have interactions with people more so. And then I went from administrative seg to advanced administrative segregation, in which you don't have a full tier. It's just 5 of us in the back somewhere with what would have been a TV if it worked. And then literally from then on into the box and doing the first 90-day stay in the county with the candy stripe uniform on and the full, you're by yourself, everything's settling in. You don't have all your amenities, but a selection of books. You know, you're in there.
Wow. That's got to be a ton to deal with at that young age. I remember the floor they put me on in our county, I was on 3 North, and 4 North was the minor floor. And I mean, for every one fight that happened on our floor, there was 6 or 7 on that minor floor. It was, like you've said before, what is it, gladiator school? Just so I can't imagine being that age and just getting thrown into the mix of it. How far into your time in the county did you find out you were going to prison, and then how did you accept that and kind of transition to get ready to go to prison?
Well, my trip was all different because it was in my legal process. I was initially, naive to it and listening to the first lawyer my parents got that was telling me I'm not going to prison and everything should be taken care of. And I was listening to my girlfriend at the time saying, "Don't worry, babe, you're not going to prison. Everything will be fine." So when I actually went into county custody, it was before pretrial and everything. I was just remanded because my ADA was that much of an asshole. So I was remanded and brought back into custody, and my bail was honored, but I couldn't bail out. So that 14 months, I spent, a lot of time just sitting and not really knowing what's going on with my legal situation, but also not really caring what's going on with it. And I got a different attorney, and she was, so I'd say when I switched attorneys, I was a little more disillusioned. She was telling me she can get me 2 to 3 years. But when I got remanded and brought in on, it was 8, 9, 10 actually, August 9th, 2010. When I got, yeah, right, end of the
I
road
know.
shit. When I got brought in, I was like, okay, I'm going to prison. And I am kind of thankful for the county in a sense that it kind of prepared me more than I needed up north. Like my county was way more vicious and ruthless and brutal than most prisons up north.
Really?
And yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Um, how they say, like, you probably wouldn't last. A lot of people wouldn't last in the county because normally, the concept you have of the gladiator school is that, when you're on the minor tier, everybody all the time you have to fight. You want your tray, you got to prove you could fight for it because somebody might punk you out of it, you know. And it's only on some extremes like that up north where you could be a normal person. No one's gonna try to come take, no one's gonna try to go to mess hall with you, take your tray from you. But in the county, you saw more of that oppressive nature on the adult tiers as well as on the minor tiers. So you go on the adult tiers and, you know, somebody might have, get in a fight over the TV
Yeah.
or you're fighting over the phone. It's also because you're close quartered in our county as well. It's not spread out. We didn't have many pods. A lot of that is you're on the tiers and it's arm's wingspan distance between the gate of the outside of the tier and the front of your cell, and everybody's got to move in this little narrow corridor, so you're piled on top of each other, and it's a lot more violent. I swear I saw the worst shit, before I needed to on that level in the county before I even got up north. By the time I got up north, I was partially desensitized. I was certainly prepared to be wolfing out, to be a wolf amongst wolves and not a sheep up there because, I had a lot of fear in me initially. A lot of the stuff I did
Yeah.
was out of fear. My fear came from not knowing what was going to happen next because all of it was new to me. So when you have steps that you're familiar with, Like you go to the county one time, your first time in there, you know, you're scared. You don't express it aloud. It's not like there's a boogeyman that you feel like you need to fear from, but you're scared because this is incarceration and it's new. So anything that's new could already scare you, but the fact that you have this element to it, it's pure fear that's in you. And then, you know, the second time you go into county, you kind of been through here before, so you know what this is. And then you're in there a third time, maybe even, and you start recognizing the guards and shit. And you're not afraid of that portion of things. Well, by the time I was able to, you know, over 8 months' time, by the time I got to, you know, past the halfway point in the county, I had, you know, been through all the corridors and been on different tiers. So it felt familiar and it felt comfortable. So it felt safe. And then now you bring forth the element of going up north and you go through reception, and which in itself is solitary. If you go through maximum reception, downstate correctional or upstate correctional or Auburn, which is where you went through, right? Coming through
Elmira.
Rochester, where'd you go?
Elmira.
Elmira.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get through those receptions, you're on lockdown. You know, you're not hanging out and going out to the yard like that. You know, so they give you some of those elements of still having some freedom. You know, but at first, you know, initially all that's scary. So I was just acting off of fear because I was afraid of everything. And the huge change from being, I mean, granted I was on bail with everything, but you know, I spent the majority of my time on college campus. So, and I don't know if you ever felt the atmosphere, you've been to, yeah. So the atmosphere that you feel on a college campus, especially when you're, you know, and particularly if you're not there for sports, you know, like I was there on academic scholarship. So when you're there, like, and I was on mock trial, you know, so you're there really on a scholastic level. The atmosphere of a college campus is, you know, just something completely different. And the hope and potential that you feel there when you're 18 is also something different that just changes everything about you. And then you step right from there, you know, and partying and I might do this and I can't wait to do this and be this person to fucking jail. It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks, man. You get pissed off and having that mentality, you know, being the norm, particularly on the minor tiers of you want your loaf of bread, you're gonna have to fight. You want some juice in your cup in the morning, you'd have to fight. Like before I knew all of that, granted I came in, I was already banging. I didn't know we had juice and bread. If you're in the county, some people won't know that you have juice and bread with your breakfast. You'll just think that it's cereal, your PB&J, and some milk. Some people don't even get to see the loaves because that is part of the concept. If you have the tier, so when you get 6 loaves of bread and 6 jugs of juice, you get a 4-2 split. So when it's our side, we keep 4 and we give you guys 2. And when it's your side, you keep 4 and you give our sides 2. But really, only the tier rep or whoever has the tier holds it down. So that's the only time you'll see gangbangers voluntarily play some part of organized community when it's, oh, my name has to be on that board. Sure, put a star next to my board. I'll feed the food cart, but I'm gonna organize all of this. Have my stranglehold on all of this. Only my people are gonna have the loaves of bread. Only my people are gonna have the jugs. If you're not in it, you won't know that there's juice or bread. Yeah. That'll be something that you have to go to commissary for. So coming from that already, like that's your entry level. You know, the entry level is there's an oppressive force here and there's an you know, an overseeing force here aside from the fucking police.
Yeah.
We already have an oligarchy here. We have a hierarchy here. We have our system set in place on top of the police. So you're not even this, you know, knowing that that's already going on there. And then you send someone like that, and you put a chip on their shoulder, and you tell them that people aren't going to respect them because you're from Long Island. And you have a good recipe there. You have a real good recipe there. Yeah, you know, young kids already have chips on their shoulders. And then you tell them, hey, You know, you're banging bloods. If you want respect, you got to make sure that you establish it twofold, because you will be discounted being from Long Island. And me already being, you know, I didn't grow up in the impoverished neighborhoods. So, you know, I always was a smart kid, and that'll get you eaten alive. You know,
Yeah.
people will always point and see that there might be a soft vig there, because that concept of, you know, oh, you get somewhere, you take out the big bad MFer and you make an example. That's always going to resonate. It's always going to be a cliche, and that's always going to be something that people go to do. So I found myself on the shit end of that stick several times, where
So
someone will, like you say, you know, see me watching Jeopardy at 7 o'clock, and you know, just go, oh, this guy's one of those big nerdy effers. Like, let's throw some shades on him and I could punk him. And that ends up causing trouble for me oftentimes that I don't even need to engage in myself,
yeah.
which has landed me in a few of those situations, like why I was in administrative segregation. That was actually the first escalation for me, being on the minor tier, being a civil person with other people that weren't quite civil. Even if they're young adults, they're still capable of being malicious and cognitive and making their own decisions and devising plots and plans. So when I found myself being on the shit end of the stick because of being in Rome and people being less civil at the time, I had to find a way to escalate that. So I went from not knowing there was juice and bread to make sure I have my juice and bread, from just off, you know, the switch of it. Because it was one of those things where you go, you know, I'm kind of 6 foot, 215, and there's no reason why these little fuckers that don't eat their vegetables should be oppressing me.
Yeah.
So you go from not having a voice to being so loud that, you know, they end up, oh shit, this kind of backfired. Let's get this guy out of here. And traditionally, if you want to get somebody out of there, you go violent. But if they can show you that they can be more violent than you have to go the alternate route, which is how I ended up in an administrative segregation for the first time in the county, where it was like, hey, we're getting slips dropped on you left and right. All right, you came in there, you want to be a bully. And I'm like, me be a bully? Sheesh, like, you want to be a bully, you don't want to let people watch what they want to watch, and we're going to put you in admin seg and see how that goes. And then it just got worse from that.
Oh man.
So, you know, it kind of feeds itself, and it comes at you from a bunch of different angles. But by the time I left the county, I was a completely different person than the person who came into the county not knowing all these things. And I needed that, because I needed to learn a lot, because you know how ruthless it can be up north.
Yeah.
You know, and it can go from zero to a funeral at that snap of a finger,
But
the
like,
bump of a shoulder, the instigation of an argument.
yeah. But like you said too, there's a lot of prisons, you know, particularly that we were at, where if you do just, if you don't have, you know, a rape charge, a charge against children or women, and you just are quiet and mind your own business, you can go about, you know, years without trouble. Um, but yeah, in the county, that's totally different, because, like you said, it's just that space, that stress, that all of it. Um, that is wild. So then, leading into that, so now you go to prison, do you adapt right away with, you know, other bloods, other gang, you know, members? Or did you find Long Island people? How did you take that new attitude for your
So
first?
when I first went up north, I went to my reception center, which was downstate. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, I guess obviously that was good like that, but I'd been in a bunch of different situations. And the way that, right, the way I was scared when I first got to downstate is like nothing else in the world, because I wasn't afraid of the inmate population at all. I'd come to the point where I already understood that level, right? Like before I got to downstate, I was always afraid of um the Z factor, you know, because there's always the X factor and then there's a Y that eliminates the X factor, and then there's that top dog there, the alpha particle, if you will, that's thrown into the equation, that may not always announce himself as the most boisterous, but there's always that person that everyone has to be accountable for. It's like, damn, like if you're here and you're doing this, you got to make sure, you know, that dude, don't get on this dude's bad side. Don't be on, you know, and that's how I had it in the county, where I was like, man, I may be like good with my immediate surroundings, but damn, there's always going to be somebody bigger, and there's going to be someone stronger, and there might be someone that's a little faster to the draw, and there might be someone that doesn't give a fuck more, that kind of eliminates whether someone's bigger or whatever than you. And when I finally got done with understanding people on the county level, I was just afraid of the police. That was my only concern.
That's your Z factor?
I was shook at the cops. Like, that was, when I got to downstate, that's all I was worried about. Because I was like, you know, there's a saying, blood rule. Like, when you kind of take it in ratios and strength and numbers and historical impact, like, if you blood, you don't really care about certain things the way other people care about it. You know, like, you get this certain place, there's not going to be someone telling you you can't get on the phone. There's going to be someone telling you, you know, those 3 phones over there, the homie phones. There's not going to be someone telling you, like, you can't use this weight shack. There's someone going to be telling you, hey, that shack over there is for the homies. That side of the yard over it, you know?
Yeah.
So when I got to downstate, dude, and they'll prepare you in the county. They're like, yo, man, when you get to downstate, don't say nothing. Look straight. Don't give them a reason. That's the saying. Don't give them a reason. You know what I'm talking about, because if you give the police a reason to, they will. And what would they do is whoop that ass. They will put you under the jail. They will, all of that. So when I got there, they had it real set up like it's like meeting your drill instructor for the first time in the Army, except you're not worried in the Army that your drill instructor will take you behind the shed and murder you.
Yeah.
You know? You're not worried that your drill instructor is going to find a way to make you end up staying in basic training for the rest of your life. Like, none of that is concerning you. So they're bringing you that much intensity, and they have that authoritative position over you with all of the fucking backed up fear in the world, man. I remember they were telling you, hey, if you see the ladies that work there, you'll like them because they're going to be the ones from the Bronx and Manhattan, and they're going to look nice, and they're going to smell nice. Don't get caught looking. And I had one taking my fingerprints, and she said left hand, and I damn sure put my right hand up there and just kept looking forward. And she was like, no, left hand. I looked down, and I caught a glimpse, and she was so pretty, and I just had to catch myself from staring because I don't know who could have seen anything. I've seen that before, you know. I've seen that while I was there. What did you say to her? The man said nothing. Caught a billy club to the back of the head, you know. And
just for looking,
you know, that complex, that understanding is something that, you know, they instill it to us. They tell, you know, not everyone to carry the billy clubs, so that you'll know that if a cop carries a billy club, the CEO carries a billy club, he's gonna be using that shit. Because if he didn't want to use it, he wouldn't have that being the only thing dangling on the side of his belt. You know?
Or the ones that put all the rubber bands on it. You know, you ever see those ones? They got like 30 colored bands on it. You're like, what is this? What does he decorate his club? No, each one is a different whooping he's given. Oh, man.
Each one is somebody's head. You know, so
Yeah.
my fear was just them. And then once I get up north and well to reception, and of course I have to gravitate to my own kind. You know, I'm blood, so that's who I'm be talking to. That's me calling out for in the gallery. That's who I'm be asking about, setting me up with certain things I may need. That's who I'll have myself in accordance with. So I coming up, chip on my shoulder. I wanted my name to be substantive, So when I found out in downstate that a fight gets you 15 days of keep lock, which, I mean, like I said, when you're in reception, you're in keep lock anyways. You get an hour outside, you walk through to the mess hall and back. Every time you get back, there's something nice on the TV that you can't watch. And then you get like an hour or two on the gallery at the end. So you have 3 hours of recreation. I mean, I got initially, brought in the administrative segregation in the county. So if I saw a plate is, persona non grata and undesirable. Someone that has done fuck shit and has had people, taking the full expense of writing letters to their friends about how terrible this person is. And if you have plates, you clean a plate up, it's only 15 days, but you people see it. And they're like, yo, who that? Who's that bugging out in the hallway, not giving a fuck? Oh, that's the little homie from Long Island. That's BL. Yeah, that's BL badass. Oh, that's him again. 2, 3 of those key blocks. I'm spending months in downstate.
But you're weighing it out.
But that's all
the pros and cons of I could knock 3 people out. It's only going to get me 45 days keep block, but my rep's going to go up, keep jumping. So my name's going to be heard wherever I go. That's.
And when you don't have, Instagram, that's the only way you can get clout. When there's no timeline, it's, and that's particularly interesting because most of the information that gets passed around, most of the updates that you'll get, like blood, a pull up, you're not in tune with certain aspects of the nation, you're in transit and you see somebody coming all the way from Clinton and he's on his way down, to Sing Sing, but they stopped in Elmira for the weekend, and you have somebody going up to Auburn, and he's coming down from Eastern. So he was in a downstate hub, and he stops at Elmira for the weekend. I get in tune there. I'm hearing about everything that's going on in that hub up there in the Clinton, Franklin, upstate box hub, and I could bring to him, he could bring the other news from the lower hub, Eastern and everything, and you get put on point so he could know when he's heading down there, there's a war right now at the Latin Kings. So if you don't have something on you, since my body is my suitcase, pull out a fucking number 11 razor that doesn't ring. Here, make sure you're protected before you get down there, because anybody that might be of a certain shade might not have your best interest in hand. Yeah. So you can't show in there naked thinking it's peacetime, even though, it's technically never peacetime, but you can't show in there naked thinking everything's cool, or, when it's really that kind of place. And vice versa. You could have news to bring with someone and going, oh, what happened with such and such? I heard he was in control of the 3rd floor for this nation. Oh, he went and did some fuck shit, stole from somebody. Now he's a plate. So if you run into him, clap him. Make sure you take care of that. If you ever run into him, that would be a favor to this, that, and the third, and put you in different situations. So that's interesting in and of itself, that's the place for that more so than just your facility. That's the place for you to be doing that when you're in transit and there's people that will run into it, more people to be able to get that word of mouth out there. Such and such is in the building. Such and such is up north here.
that's a crazy insight into some of the
It did.
politics too that goes on, with everything.